Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhiannon and today I'm going to be telling you all about the books that I read in January. So in my January TBR video I mentioned that I would like to read 5 books. I can happily say that I have managed that, however they aren't the 5 books that I have mentioned in that video. There are 2 that I didn't manage to get to, but I did swap them out for different books because the theme for January was definitely thrillers and murder mystery books. You guys know I've been in a really weird reading mood and slump this past year, and so I wanted to kick off this year reading books that I thought were going to keep my interest and make me fall back into love with reading. And I feel like murder mysteries and thrillers are some of the best books for that because they are quite fast paced, they normally have complex mysteries involved, and they do keep you on the edge of your seat. So I'm very happy to have read all of the books that I did this month. They have definitely kick-started this year on a good note for me and I can't wait to chat to you guys about them. So without further ado, let's just dive into the video. My first book of 2023 was The Butcher and the Wren by Elena Urquhart. I only actually bought this one in December. It's a very recent purchase for me, but as soon as I bought it I knew that I wanted to read it immediately, and I'm so glad that I kicked off my reading year with this one. So in this one we follow Dr. Wren Muller, who is a forensic pathologist. When a series of murders start to occur, Wren is thrown into the investigation and soon becomes a central part of it. The media have called this serial killer the Butcher because he does like to experiment a bit with the bodies, and so far he has proved impossible to catch. The longer this killer is out and caught committing crimes, the more determined that Wren is to bring him to justice. And as body after body piles up on Wren's examination table, her obsession with catching this killer only grows. You guys can see why I was immediately drawn to this book. I love my true crime. I'm also a fan of the TV show Dexter, which I feel like the concept of this is very similar to that of the show. And I was initially a little bit hesitant diving into this one because I hadn't actually heard the best reviews from people that I follow, but I think because I went into it not really knowing too much, not really knowing about the author, I did end up having such an amazing time with this one and I genuinely could not put it down. This book does give you the perspective of the serial killer, which is so creepy, let me tell you, and I will give you guys a warning that the first page of this book throws you into the gruesome, gory murders straight away. So if that is something that you're not really wanting to read about, then definitely stay away from this book because it only gets more and more graphic throughout. Another thing that I wasn't aware of when I picked this book up is that the author is actually a co-host of the chart-topping show Morbid, a true crime podcast, and she is an autopsy technician by trade, and so it says here she offers a unique perspective from deep inside the morgue. I definitely think that was a very good aspect of this book. It wasn't info-dumpy, it wasn't put across in a way that made the reader feel stupid. It was very cleverly done where we got explanations for different things and how it then related to the case. So I definitely don't feel like it was being condescending in any way. It did just give you the information that you needed to kind of make more sense of what was happening in terms of the investigation. There was also a plot twist in here which I didn't really see coming. I think the closer we got to it, of course, I started to kind of catch on, and at first I wasn't sure if I liked it. I'm still not 100% sure if I liked it, but it definitely gave you that kind of shock factor. It had everything tie in and the murderer kind of made more sense in terms of why he was committing the crimes and what the relevance of this investigation and the people involved were. But the only issue I had with this book was that the ending was quite open-ended, which I'm not sure if that means that a sequel is coming. I honestly have no idea, but it was just a little bit unsatisfying for me. I do like to have a good conclusion at the end, but there was definitely an air of mystery involved in this ending, and yeah, it just fell a little bit flat for me, which I'm really sad about. But overall I gave this book 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I think I'm gonna gift it to my mum now because she will probably love this one as much as I did. It is a short book as well, so I did manage to read it quite quickly, and yeah, it essentially gave me everything I wanted in this type of book except for the satisfying ending. So a 4-star read for this one. one, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. I have decided to group these next 3 books together just because they're by the same author following the same characters, and those are of course books in the Poirot Murder Mystery series by Agatha Christie. The first of these that I read was The Mysterious Affair at Styles. This is our first introduction to Hercule Poirot, and I can honestly say that this did live up to the hype. This was such an amazing book, such a complex mystery, and I loved seeing Poirot and Captain Hastings work together to solve the crime. We of course have a murder in this book. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to give too much of the story away, but there is of course a murder. The victim does have a lot of money left behind, and so there are of course a lot of suspects. The way this was done was so clever. I was genuinely baffled at the reveal. There are just so many characters that could be responsible, and the more information you get, it just throws you because you're not sure who to believe. All of them have a motive, all of them seem to have an alibi, which obviously throws everything into chaos. But in the midst of that, we have Hercule Poirot and his little grey cells, who is very perceptive, knows how to ask the right questions, and knows a lot about human nature in general, and through his powers of deduction ends up solving the crime. I gave this one 4 stars again. I might even up to a 4.5 or a 5 stars though, because this was just so good. Haven't stopped thinking about it since, and would highly recommend if you guys do want to start with Agatha Christie but aren't sure where. The second Poirot book that I read was The Murder on the Links, and for those of you interested in the reading order, I'm just going off the list on the back of these books, so that is the order I will be reading them in. I know that there are a lot of different ways that you can read these stories, but just to save myself some confusion, I am just following the order on the back. So this was the second one, and in this one Poirot has just solved the case over at Styles, and he's waiting for his next big case. So when a letter arrives for him from a wealthy man over at France, his eyes lit up as he starts reading it. The letter itself is quite sinister though. It's about this man fearing for his safety. He feels like someone is going to make an attempt on his life, and so Poirot decides that this case is very urgent and he goes to France immediately. When he gets there though, unfortunately he is too late. This man has already been murdered, and his brutally stabbed body is now lying in a shallow grave on a golf course. This again was filled with complex characters. The mystery itself was done so well. The only issue was that I did get a bit confused with this one, I'm not gonna lie. I think because I was listening to the audiobook for it, I just missed a little bit of information here and there, and so when it did come to the big reveal, it wasn't as satisfying for me because I did feel like I'd missed a couple of bits along the way. That's not to say that this isn't a good book though. I do just think that my personal reading experience wasn't the best for this one, and so I did end up giving this one 3 stars. I watched the adaptation not long after as well and just loved it. It definitely made more sense watching it than it did reading it, but I had a really good time listening to this one as well, and I loved seeing Poirot in a different setting in a different country as well. And then the last Poirot book that I read was Poirot Investigates, which unfortunately wasn't as well received as the first 2 books. I actually ended up giving this one 2 stars, and honestly the rating could go a bit lower. I did not connect with this book at all because first of all I didn't realise that this was a collection of short stories. I just don't gel with short stories, unfortunately. I think that I prefer a more complex mystery where things are explained over a period of time and you can kind of see the mystery unfold by yourself, whereas in here, because the mysteries are so short, I feel like everything happens so quickly and I genuinely couldn't keep up with what was going on. Another aspect of this book that really let it down for me was the derogatory language towards Chinese people. The first story in here actually was awful. It had so many racist slurs, it had so much derogatory language in it that if I hadn't have been driving, I would have put the book off immediately. It made me very uncomfortable. I feel like it really wasn't needed, and I just feel like that is a story that doesn't need to be told. This does have 11 short stories in it, so I feel like if you took one out and made it a 10 short story collection, then it wouldn't really make that much of a difference, and yeah, this one just completely missed the mark for me. me. I really didn't enjoy my experience reading it, and unfortunately it has made me weary to pick up the next Poirot book. Because of my bad experience with Poirot Investigates, I was definitely hesitant to pick up another book. However, I'm so glad that I ended up picking this book up, because this one ended up being a 5-star book, and it is definitely a new favourite of mine. That one is of course 5 Survive by Holly Jackson, which is a YA murder mystery in which we follow a group of 6 friends who decide to go on an RV trip together. On the way there though, they do take a wrong turn and they end up driving into a kind of forest, and they do end up being trapped there. Now they soon come to realise that this wasn't an accident. Someone had planned for all of this to happen, and that person wants one of them dead. With the hours counting down until dawn, these 6 friends must work together to figure out which one of them is the target. And of course, over the night, buried secrets are soon brought to light, and tensions in the RV reach an all-time high. As I previously mentioned, this book is amazing. It definitely had a slower start, and I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to enjoy it as much because of that. However, about 30 to 50 pages in, I fell in love. I just could not stop reading. I was so gripped by the story and the different characters and what their secrets could possibly be that I just got sucked in completely, and I just had the best time. Holly Jackson just has a way of writing that makes you feel all of the different emotions. Like, there's one character in here that had me so angry. He genuinely infuriated me, and I feel like if I was in the RV with him, I would have just checked him out from the get-go because I couldn't deal with that type of person in this situation, and I'm not sure how the other characters did. There were some people that I thought could be the target, and then I ended up being wrong. And yeah, as the book goes on, the stakes just get higher and higher, and you were left genuinely confused about who this could actually be about. The reveal was also very satisfying. There was a kind of twist within a twist, which I very much appreciated. This was also quite graphic and gruesome as well. People are actually killed throughout this book, so again, if that's not something you want to read about, then maybe stay away. However, it was done in such a good way. Like, I feel like it added a lot to the story and definitely moved the plot on, and obviously upped the stakes. And so yeah, I definitely felt that urgency from the characters to figure out this secret throughout the book. And one element of this that I really enjoyed as well is that the book is kind of time-stamped, so I'll just find you an example. There we go. So this is like 12 AM, so we follow the characters for an hour or so in this section, and then we get to the next hour, and so on and so forth. And yeah, I feel like that really helped move the story along, kind of break it up a little bit so that you could take breaks, and I just really love how this was written and put together. I will just mention quickly that I have filmed reading vlogs throughout the month of January, so if you do want to watch those, I will have them linked down below. You can kind of see my thoughts as I'm reading the books. Obviously, it's a lot harder for me now to sit here and kind of explain what I was feeling and going through, so if you do want to see that, I will of course have them linked down below for you. But yeah, this was fantastic. I would highly recommend, and it's definitely cemented Holly Jackson as a favourite author of mine. So there we have it. These are the 5 books that I read in January. I feel like I definitely had a good choice of books here. I had some standout books, I had a really bad book unfortunately, but I feel like I needed that to kind of show me how good the other books were, and it hasn't actually put me off reading because I have read this many books. As you can see, I've also started 2 other books from my February TBR, so keep your eyes peeled for those reading vlogs, and definitely let me know if you enjoy wrap-ups so that I can continue to film them, because I always felt like people didn't really care about wrap-ups, but I would like to try and film them monthly as a kind of recap of what I have read, what I've enjoyed, and what ratings I have given the books. And of course, if you guys like them as well, it's more motivation for me to sit down and film these for you. For the emoji of this video, I'm gonna go for a golf emoji. I know that's pretty out there, but for my murder mystery books, I tend to ask for skull emojis or knife emojis and the stereotypical things that you would associate with murder mysteries. However, I'm gonna go for the golf emojis for this one because it's a little bit more out there, and I feel like it will just be fun to see something different. So if you would like to let me know that you're still here but don't have anything in particular that you would like to say, please go ahead and leave me some golf emojis down in the comments. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video, and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!